Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sloppy Lab. This is Bottom of the Beaker, the show about the design, ducks, and strategy of Keyforge. I am JT Russell, and with me tonight is the man who made it through 3,457 chicken nuggets before somebody finally told him it ain't that type of KFC weekend.
So good.
Very good. How long was that one brewing?
Oh, I missed the opportunity last year, so I've been sitting on that for sitting on
For
that
a
for a
whole
while.
year. I
Yeah,
loved it.
yeah.
Good evening, JT.
Good evening, Quick Draw. And also tonight we have with us Ahawk was in the other room, but B-Hawk was with me in the open side.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Welcome
Hello,
back,
hello.
Beaker.
Welcome.
Yeah,
We had a
Uh,
great time hanging out with you last weekend.
it was great. It was good to see you guys. Good to see the Slappy Lab crew together.
that was
Most
that
of
was
us.
awesome. Five of
Most
us.
of
Technically,
Five of
most
us.
of us. Yeah.
There's more.
Technically
There's
most.
more.
Yeah, above over half. There were a lot of Slappy Lab work shirts around too. That was pretty cool. I mean, from us, not like other people buying our swag.
We don't,
Not
we
yet.
don't sell swag.
Not yet.
This is not a for-profit endeavor. We
But
just drain JT's bank account for everything and call it a day.
but yeah, it was super awesome. Yeah, first time getting to meet you in person, B-Hawk, and
Yeah. It's really,
JDG.
really good to put faces to screen names and screen names to faces and all that jazz. It was good.
Yeah, totally. And some international attendance for us too. We had JDG coming down from the Canadians, which was great, and not tonight from Poland. It was excellent to see her too.
Yeah.
Even
I
brought
always
Rector.
forget that Canada. I always forget that Canada's foreign. It's so weird. JDG didn't cross an ocean to get here.
He
But not tonight did.
Yeah,
she
wild.
did. She did. That was awesome. Actually, the international attendance in general was excellent. Was really impressed to see how many folks came out. I mean, I sat down at one point, and it was I don't know if you were there quick draw or not, but there was like 4 people from the same NKFL group, like group, not just league, like from the same group. It was like the Gold Alpha or something, or no, Silver Alpha, I forget. But they were like, "Wow, we have half of our pod here," like all
My group.
international.
That might have been my group. We had 5 of us, and we took a group photo together.
That might
No
be.
way.
5 people from Silver Gamma out of 8 were there.
Wow. See, I wish I had brought my full NKFL lineup because Zenzik was there. I
Yeah,
actually played him in the open event, but yeah, that could have been played.
yeah,
But I left one at home. I just
yeah.
didn't expect to play it.
I played enough games versus not tonight that we could have just called that our hexad.
Right on. And welcome to folks in the chat too. I see some familiar names from the past weekend, and some folks who would have been nice to catch, but maybe next time. So yeah, welcome to Data Forge stream. Got the Cloggin. We got Floxamal, Joe, yeah, Funginator, and Ketzer. Yeah. We actually we asked some questions of the ghosts for you, Ketzer too. So we'll get into that, I'm sure. But yeah, very fun. So I don't know. Well, this was an awesome weekend. Why don't we just start with some of our favorite moments. This episode is just going to be really a retrospective in general. We'll talk about some of the stuff that we enjoyed, some of the stuff that we heard and or maybe notably didn't hear, and hopefully not bore you all, but with our gushing over how much we enjoyed each other's company.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great experience. And just before we get into it, anyone that couldn't make it, don't feel sad. It was a happy event, and I wish that everyone could have been there. But it was just very positive, I think, for KeyForge in general. Even if you couldn't attend, I think you should really, you know, just revel in the fact that it was a really, really fantastic event, and Ghost Galaxy is making some great strides and hosting a really wonderful thing for everybody. And even if you couldn't make it, it's a great sign for the game.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I didn't get to go to the first one, but will say that for this event, just the overall energy, the positivity, the outlook for the game, yeah, it was just really, really great times all around. So couldn't underscore that with a heavier line. Great sign for the game.
Yeah, I went to the last year's KFC and that was great. That was a blast, but this year had such a big impact. Like so many people were there. The hall was packed. Everyone was there. They were all happy to be playing Keyforge together. It was just a good time overall.
Yeah. What a
Eh,
cool venue too.
I
The
love
game
that
center is
venue.
really a lot of fun. Tons of games, tons of space. The food was actually better than advertised last week
Yeah.
here on this show. I thought the burrito was fantastic. The chips were just salty enough, and they had a good variety of beer.
They had
I
lattes, they had beer. What
yeah,
what? Like I had my morning and evenings covered.
There you
that's
go.
right.
And you're not even gonna touch on the Indian buffet around the corner, quick draw.
I went to the Indian buffet 3 days in a row, and I have no regrets. It was amazing.
It was good. It was good.
Well, I will
I
say
think we had
no.
I
Go
think we
ahead.
had a little like Slappy Lab Work lunch sans quick draw, but
Yeah, I
uh
missed that one.
it's okay. We had Vargas there instead, and
Okay.
he was a good substitute, I think.
He has the same
Yeah,
first name, so we're good. That
yeah,
counts.
exactly. Matt, it's fine.
Yeah. Um,
Uh,
I
Not
thought that
Tonight
the
called me a nerd at that lunch. That was nice. She was like, I thought they existed only in movies. I'm like, oh, maybe I should shut up.
she's actually like she was. I thought she was going to tune in tonight. She's still on U.S. time, it seems.
Oh, maybe
Maybe
she
she's
said
like
not tonight.
maybe nerd. Um, I love the buffet because when you're in these events, you have like a very tight window for food, right? And you have
Mhm.
a small lunch break, and everybody like makes a beeline for the cafe, and then they get backlogged. And so there's not a ton of restaurants in the immediate area, but there is plenty of time on like a 1 hour lunch break to just walk down right by the hotel to the Indian buffet, sit down, have a plate of good food, come back in time for the next round. So I thought the buffet itself was like a perfect option. The food was great.
Yeah, it was decently quick for sure, and it tasted great.
hmm I Indian must be your favorite food, quick draw, because the gleam in your eye when you're like, "There's an Indian buffet," it's just like
I love Indian food.
unreal.
So good.
Right
Yeah.
on, right on.
I think that was the other Matt's first time actually getting Indian food.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was maybe this is like I don't know, wrong of me to think this, but I was very surprised at the two of our Polish friends who were there who were both like, yeah, let's do it. Let's go to Indian food. We get Indian food all the time. They knew exactly what to order. And I was like, I'm kind of surprised that there are this many Indian restaurants in Poland because there's not that many in other parts of Europe that I've been to.
Hmm. Learn something new every day, and we're
Yeah.
more worldly and I don't know, more knowledgeable from going to KFC.
Yeah.
How about that?
There you go.
Yeah,
Right
but
on.
not the restaurant.
But not
I
the
don't know what
restaurant.
Fox Mall's booing.
They were booing the not tonight puns, which I mean, if you came here hoping to get no puns, you're gonna be disappointed. Yes, yes,
Well,
indeed.
so I think one of the first things that I'm going to say, just get it out of the way. Favorite parts of the weekend, hanging out with everybody, you guys especially, the rest of the team, all the other people that we've met online, and the coolest thing to me was how many people. This was really actually genuinely surprising me. How many people said to me, "I love your podcast. Like, thanks so much." People that like I had never met before, never talked to online before said it. The number of people that said that to me was more than one, which was astounding.
And then your mom dropped you off at the airport, and you went to
And then yeah, that was it.
I definitely appreciated to know that some people definitely tuned in because they made the joke when I didn't make Top Cut. They're like, "Well, maybe if you were a Hawk," and that was great. Thank you, Fudgenator. That was amazing.
Nice, nice.
But one of my favorite moments, besides hanging out with you guys, was just the energy during like the keynote when all the houses started coming up and everyone's like shouting like they're like boo when disc comes on and then logos comes on and everyone's like yeah logos
Everybody loves
and
logos.
and then Sarian comes on and you see David Papiani's friends they just start going Ben Scala Ben Scala it was so funny. Oh,
I
so
didn't hear
good.
that.
Yeah,
That
that
was
was
that
a
was pretty
little
good.
nugget for us over in that little corner there. Matt caught it on video. It was just our favorite soundbite on our way home. Just so good.
We'll have to add that to the end of the podcast here
Yeah,
whenever we release it. Give that
All
to
right.
the production manager over here.
Okay, I'll talk to Matt and see if I can get it.
Everyone booed Unfathomable, I think, right? That was like the one that got the most boos.
I thought Dis did, to be honest.
I think Disc got the ironic booze, and then they were like, "Oh, you're supposed to be the heel, Demon's House or whatever." And then Unfathomable came and remember was like, "Well, I'm either booing because I was unimpressed in Dark Tidings, or I'm
DT.
just super tired of getting befuddled."
Yes, probably that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, what about you, JT? You got a favorite moment from the weekend?
The of not hanging out with peeps moments. Man, that's tough. You know what? I really enjoyed way more than I thought I was going to. The Menagerie games. I really did. And I know Quick Draw, you're probably not in my camp on this one. I don't know I don't know where you land on this, Behawk, but yeah, I like the Menagerie games a lot. I really appreciated being there for the keynote. It was kind of fun to listen on that and see where folks' heads were at in terms of the future of the game over the next immediate future of the game. And actually the Q&A session and just kind of getting to chat with some of the Ghost Galaxy folks one on one around that time was super cool. Um, yeah, so those are some highlights for me. And yeah, I don't know. What'd you think, Behawk?
I had
To piggyback on that with the Menagerie games, I mean, it felt a lot like Unchained. Like in terms of, so KFC last year it was Unchained, but it was Unchained Duel. So like in order to get more Unchained, you had to play your deck and either win or lose with it. It's the perfect format. It just makes it so social because nobody knows what to expect in those games.
Mm.
And the same sort of thing happened with Menagerie decks, except Menagerie just had that extra synergy that Unchained was lacking.
hmm,
And I heard that there was Dis and there's going to be like Sins packets, and here I am hoping to get another Seven Sins deck, and the person across from me gets a Four Sins deck, and I'm like, oh man, I thought it was going to be all seven. I really hoped.
they
And
should have made it like guaranteed all seven if you get them.
yeah, but then I guess maybe they were considering like other formats of like, I don't know, that are brewing or something.
Mm.
Because I don't know if you heard of Keymander, but that's like cross set, and he sets fine in that. I can only imagine if somebody had two Seven Sins deck for a pod for that.
Hmm.
Sorry if I'm going too far into a topic that we hasn't even brought up at all, but
Keymander is one that we should talk about in a bit, but I just want to ask, like, what is the synergy you speak of in Menagerie? Because I
all
saw
right.
none of
I
it.
know you didn't see it, but I opened an MGKA pod. I opened an anomaly precision, which like, you know how anomaly exploiter usually sucks. It added all of these targeted damage things like double twin bolt emission and stuff like that, and then it had like triple amber storm, which deals a
Mm.
damage for every amber you have, and then it had the full Titan suite. It had two Titan mechanics and three Titan guardians. So like sometimes I'm like, I'm gonna kill my own stuff and draw extra cards. So it was a weird, interesting packet. I would not have thought of that in a million years, but it worked out.
But you had generosity with it, right?
I did have generosity
Yeah.
with it.
So
So
am I the only
so
person that did not open a generosity key abduction deck?
actually that one did not have key abduction, but I
Okay.
did open another one that had Martian generosity with key abduction. So
So I'm gonna try not to be salty about this for very long, but I
did
opened
you?
two Menagerie decks, and I never want to open another Menagerie deck in my life. The first one I open um, has Status Raptors in it, which is
So
like
perfect for
it's
you.
Beautiful.
perfect. I literally I went back in my Discord history and I found that I was telling my locals about Menagerie a couple weeks ago, and I was like, some poor soul is going to open up all his Status Raptors and like Chenille Bombex, and that person's going to be a major sucker for spending $15 on those decks. Here I am. Now, to be fair, that deck also had an Obsidian Forge and Soul Snatcher, which is like cool if you draw them, but with no
hmm
efficiency and facing against Jenka every single match, when are you going to get to play that?
Never.
So I was like, all right, maybe my first one just sucked. Let's buy another one, right? And the second one actually made it way worse. The second one, my two packets were a Tangaika, like with the Primordial Vault, and the only other token maker is a single Ragnarok prep. So like that's three cards that are never going to do
Miss.
anything. Major miss. And the second packet in that deck is a Lycanthropy, which is like a werewolf packet. It is literally just one untamed creature and one upgrade. And that upgrade is so bad that I
It's
actually played it on my opponent's creature.
isn't it like werewolf or something?
Yeah, it's like it you play it and it enrages the creature and it gives them splash attack, and after they fight you archive the upgrade.
Are you sure
What's that
that's what
like?
the Are you sure that's what the pod got you or the packet got
I
you?
swear. It says yes. I swear that's it. It was a gnarl gibbous
Okay.
and that upgrade that makes them a werewolf.
Huh.
That was my
Dang.
packet. And JT got a Martian Generosity key abduction with that target Mars card that lets you archive anything from your discard pile, and the soft landing to let you play Jenka every single turn of the entire game. But I have a werewolf, so fair is fair.
you're
Um,
you're missing too that that same deck had also the seven curses.
yeah, all seven.
my first one was a Hollowfest menagerie. That was cool.
JDG
Uh,
had one of
I
those too, and his
so
was
what's
really good.
funny is he and I played each other, and I see his token, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. You have Berserker, I have Berserker, and then he lets me play Hollowfest like turn 2 or turn 3 or something. I'm like, what are you gonna do? And the very next turn he's like, well, you have a full board. I guess I'll play my Hollowfest. And my Hollowfest had Shockherder. His Hollowfest, he also had Shockherder, except his Jedhammer had a capture pip and a draw pip. So not only did he rule his 6 Jedhammer, he also captured 6 of my Amber and drew 6 cards and did other shenanigans.
Yeah,
And I was like, yeah, that's way better than mine. I
yeah.
I uh,
He
I
won a
went to
ton of
6 and
games.
you just went to 18. So
Yeah, I think he won like a dozen games or more with that deck.
yeah, it was insane.
It was a really crazy deck. I played him once, and he played Hallowfest 3 times in our game.
Oh
Like,
my gosh.
and then I actually had my Soul Snatcher out, and he had his Hallowfest turn. And despite me having like a full board of like at least 6 creatures with Soul Snatcher out, I ended the turn with no Amber because of like the capture pip that you talked
Yeah.
about and like all this other stuff. So I'm like, what am I supposed to do?
That was just like a specially broken menagerie deck for sure.
Yeah, pretty cool
Mhm.
though. I mean, it's
Hmm.
cool if you can get those. I don't know what that's
Yeah.
like, but if anyone's interested in a menagerie deck, I will not tell you the cards that are in it, but I will sell it to you for cheap.
There may be werewolves. There might be
That
werewolves.
might be. So,
Man, I regret only having two. I wish I had a third menagerie deck so I could do some three fates or sealed triad with them, or not sealed triad, but triad with them or something. Two's an awkward number. I
uh,
guess I wait for the game found now, and I don't want
Yeah.
yours.
yeah, I literally gave away my third card to buy another menagerie deck
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not into this. It's not my thing.
Uh-huh. Well, to each their own. To each their own. It
Yeah,
was
I hope other people enjoyed it.
it was being
I
enjoyed.
liked it.
It was being
What
enjoyed.
I liked the most was the incentive behind it of like reporting your games, getting a ticket, or getting another deck if it sucked, sort of thing. So,
Yeah, it was a
oh,
good system. I agree.
yeah.
2 wins for a ticket, 2 losses for a new menagerie deck, like an
Hmm.
opportunity to buy a new menagerie deck. So it's pretty
Yeah.
So
cool.
here's kind of the question. I mean, folks are really excited about Unchained when it first came out. At least the idea of it. Folks played it a lot at KFC, right? Sort of
Yeah.
similar to how we did at Menagerie with this current one. Do you think folks are going to be playing much Menagerie tomorrow and forward, or is it?
Here's the thing with it is that the reason why the decks were successful is that there was a social impact behind it.
Mm-hmm.
So like playing it online with another person that somehow miraculously you land in your Unchained game, it's like it just doesn't have the same impact as like you basically being forced to play with whatever you have at that moment. But same thing with Menagerie. I anticipate um, it's a more social impact game
Mm.
using those decks, and which is why I also say like Keymander, for example, would it be great for that format as well.
Yeah. Data Forge Stream asked if we think that they should have those kind of social events at Vault Tours as well. I would say definitely.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. I think they had some. Did they have any adventures at other Vault Tours, or was that just
So
straight at
yeah,
KFC?
they had the adventures. I recall doing a speed run for Gormengeist Fall of House Gormengeist at the Roseville Vault tour. They had that set up, but I don't know if that was because it was at their headquarters
Mm.
Mm.
Vault tour or what.
Yeah.
Not sure what you guys experienced in
I
Philly.
don't think they had any adventures in Philly, but I could be misremembering.
Mm,
There wasn't as much table space.
mm.
If it was happening, it didn't hit my radar. And also, Fox Mall saying that there were hints dropped that there may be other uses for the menagerie decks going forward. So, yeah, I mean,
Mm.
I'm not getting rid of them, but it'd be cool to see if there is something. I could see a long running like leaderboard, kind of carrying
Yeah.
forward the one that went from this past weekend, or just kind of bring them back to showdown with newly opened menagerie decks. Also, I really like the back design. I'll show it here, which is going to make for terrible radio, but this was an example of one, if folks can see. But like this sort
Graphic
of
design is just so stunning.
so
It's just
stunning, yeah.
I think
mhm.
they look great too. The only ones there are some gray ones that are just like just grayscale, and they lose a lot of it. But the ones that have a color with them, like the orange that you just showed, they
Hmm.
definitely look really good.
Really
Yeah,
pop,
I love
and
the red and the blue. Mm.
The red looks great. Yeah.
sort of this like circus
Well,
tenty thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Well,
yeah.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I've talked about Menagerie more than I ever want to talk about it again. I'm
All
going to
right.
usher this conversation along.
Okay, okay. So should we talk about Grim Reminders then? Because man, you had reservations, Quick Draw. You had lots of
I had a lot of
reservations.
reservations. Yeah. Before we played Saturday night, JT, you and I were, I think, walking back to the hotel, and I was kind of just like, I forget exactly what I was down about. I think it was like probably a mixture of, um, some of the errata that we saw, like Ecto Charge being free, or like I was just super nervous. Like, man, this set's going to be like power creep terrible. It's going to just kind of ruin the game for me. And then we played on Saturday night, and granted, I opened a pretty sweet deck, but I will say that all of my games were just fun. It's just like, I loved the Grim Reminders experience. I think the blind, essentially blind sealed for everybody, was so much fun because you're seeing like every game you're seeing multiple cards you've never seen before, which is an awesome experience. And more than anything, the games felt like Keyforge to me again, which I did not really often get that from Winds of Exchange. Like this felt like it went back to the roots, but still had a lot of depth to it. I
Hmm.
really loved Grim Reminders for that reason. And yeah, there's going to be some crazy, powerful cards, but I'm not nearly as worried as I was before the event about power creep, and I just had a ton of fun with it.
Now, I do think you bring up a point, though, about it being basically blind sealed that I want to touch on. And it's just my feeling about Sealed Alliance. I love Sealed Alliance, but I don't think it belongs with a new, like a pre-release quote unquote event. I think it's much better for players to be able to just pick a deck, play a game, and they can switch between rounds. I don't
Mhm.
think I think there's just too much decision space when you have not just six but nine pods possibly to choose from. Um, I just I
Yeah.
think it's too much, especially when players aren't familiar with the
Mhm.
cards and too much to
I
take
totally
in.
agree with that. I ended up actually just playing a single deck. I didn't make an alliance. I just used one
Yeah,
deck that
and
looked good to
granted,
me.
you can still do that, right?
Yeah.
Like you can choose to make your experience that way. But for players that are like, well, no, this is Alliance, and then you're like, I'm here, I'm in my first game, and I'm handing my deck over to my opponent, being like, hey, can you help me sleeve this up real quick? Like, shout out to Noble One, who was a good sport about it, and I'm glad he won the game because it did end up going to time, which I felt a little bad about, but it was a good experience overall.
Hmm. Yeah, gosh, the alliance crafting portion of that event went by very quickly, and I think pretty much everyone universally was like, "Wait, it's time already!" Like, still reading all
Yeah.
these cards. I
Hmm.
I didn't try to make an alliance. I played actually. It was 3 rounds. It ended up being 3 rounds that event, and we had 3 decks. I played each deck once, just as it was, and tried to get
Nice.
just a little taste of what each of them had to offer. And I don't know. I think it was the way to do it. It felt didn't feel like there were things at stake. I think the people who went 3-0 ended up with getting a
I
few
think
Vault
a
Master
vault
decks. Is that right?
or a vault master, I thought it was.
A Vault
Yeah.
Master deck. So I mean, something, but I mean, by and large, folks were just having fun, enjoying the new cards, and trying not to take it cutthroaty. So
Are
it
we gonna
was
offer up any advice for those that haven't picked their house combination
they're still thinking.
for the? Uh,
Did you guys pick yet?
I did not back. I planned on buying product through my store, if and when that develops. So
Yeah. I ended up picking Untamed for all three of my custom decks.
Untamed XX or Untamed
I
and
went Untamed and Geistoid actually for all of them, and then my third one I switched it between the three. I went with one with Star Alliance, one with Mars, one with Equidon.
okay, I like that. Although I do think Brabnar
I know I was so
was
close to
it
taking
was like
Brobnar.
the perfect chaos, you know? Like I'm like I've been waiting for Brabnar to have like chaos efficiency, and this is it. So,
Yeah, yeah. Brobnar's very good. The deck that I
hmm.
played, in fact, has Untamed, Unfathomable, and Brobnar, and there's some cool stuff. There's a Curse of Cowardice in there. There's a Witch Queen in there, and
Ooh,
there's just a ton of pips in the Unfathomable. Um, and the Brobnar creature control is legit. Like, there's a lot of cards with pips that deal damage.
hmm.
Very, very good, I thought. Yeah, I was very close to choosing Brobnar as well. Yeah.
It's really cool to see some of the new cards just in general, just like what they're doing, the new mechanics that it has, and the discard pips and all that stuff. Just cool.
hmm
Yeah. The sloppy pip, you mean?
the sloppy
The
pip.
slappy pip. Yes, that's right. The
Yeah,
sloppy pip.
Yes.
yeah. If you
Spread the word.
upgrade a Labwork to a sloppy Labwork with one of those sloppy pips, that's right.
Mm.
That's right.
Indeed.
Um, yeah,
Mm.
I opened. So I'm just going to show this again. Terrible for radio, but I opened a deck with a Witch Queen, which brings in like some legacy witches, and I happen to bring in a legacy hunting witch,
Whoa.
which is pretty sweet. And it has great synergy with the Witch Queen as well, which will let all your other witches gain destroyed, return this to your hand if it's in the center of your battle line. So
Cool.
tons of synergy, really cool stuff with the witches. And I thought Untamed like it felt like Coda Untamed, partially because I had the hunting witch, but like a Witch of the Eye as well. A lot of other card effects just felt very similar.
Hmm.
And you mentioned like the discard pile and the recursion and stuff like that. There's so much depth I thought to managing it, like way more than I expected. Um, Everyone like wants to be haunted. You could tell that people are like
Mm.
milling their deck just to get haunted, didn't even care what was in the discard pile, and then they get some stronger effects from that. My Untamed package has two cards that will shuffle in both players' discards into their deck, which like against older sets might seem terrible, but it against the Grim Reminders it's quite strong, and so like those differences in understanding like when to play something like that and when not to, I think are really interesting. That's the kind
Yeah.
of decision space I like with this set.
Yeah, I love the decision. I love how complex it is. Although I just wonder, like, why did they call it Grim Reminders? Like, did they not? They made the card, right? And they're like, yeah, that's a great name. It should only be a card name. And then they're coming up with set names. They're like, wait, why does that sound so good? That sounds great, right? It's because it was on a card already. So I don't know. Just wish either the card was different or that Grim Reminders was in the set or something. But
Yeah, and there's no disc, so what are you gonna
yeah,
do?
what's up with what a miss, really?
Hmm.
Counter synergy.
It doesn't bother me at all.
Hadn't thought of it till this moment. Yeah.
My bad.
Hey, I mean, to each his own. I mean,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
hmm
so I'm excited for Grim Reminders. I'm as someone who has like danced around on this show talking about how much I dislike WoW. I am very excited for Grim Reminders. So
Mm.
Do you still dislike WoW?
I'm finding more and more things that I have an affinity for with WoW, and
Oh.
so that's making it more tolerable for me. But it took a very long time. It took a very long time to find anything in WoW that I liked.
Okay, all right.
This is like the old politicians. Like, there's one way to say yes and like 50 ways to say no. That was one of the 50.
Did you feel like power creep was a concern at all between WoW and Grim Reminders, or WoW and what was previous?
uh, WoW, yes, definitely felt like a tons of power creep. But mostly, I'm realizing now that I think what I hate the most about Woe is just the token generation and the math about it. Like Aurora had brought this up, I think Cloggin had brought this up, TTR had brought this up, where like if you have a token board of like 8 creatures on the board of the same house, and then you have like 5 or 6 cards in hand of that same house, that breaks the math of Keyforge, and that just felt noticeable to me in a lot of Winds of Exchange games, and that's not present anymore with the tokens gone. And so
Hmm.
to me, that's why it feels more like Keyforge again. Um, and even though you have a lot of power creep in Grim Reminders, I feel like at least it feels like Keyforge, right? Like people could always forge keys for free in Keyforge. It's a little bit easier than it used to be, but it at least feels like Keyforge. And I
Mhm.
think more than anything, there is at least counterplay, and I think there's some depth that we're gonna like explore more and more the more we play Grim Reminders.
Yeah, I feel like triple mimicry decks are definitely going to become more valuable when they see an ecto charge in that discard, and
I mean,
I'm just
do you want to tell
shout
the
out.
story about what happened this weekend with that?
I don't. Do you care to?
It's a cool story. So
Yeah, go
someone's got to
ahead.
tell it. It wasn't my game. I don't know whose game this was, but somebody had an ecto charge in their discard pile, which I will say this is something that concerns me. They removed to the minimum of 6 on ecto charge. So if you have any ecto charge decks in Winds of Exchange, it just got better. But someone had an ecto charge in the discard pile, which means if you have 26 cards in your discard, you forge for free. And his opponent had double mimicry, and his entire discard pile was empty. And he mimicried ecto charge, which purges the mimicry, forged a key for free. Then he had a second mimicry, and he mimicried the ecto charge again to forge a second key for free to win the game.
Oh my God, so good, so
Crazy.
good.
So like Crusader is just like so excited right now. He's just gonna like play his triple mimicry decks, discard everything in his hand every single turn, just to get to his mimicries and then win the game in one turn.
Yeah, I got a double mimicry Nepenthe seed with punctuated equilibrium. It's a
Not in
57 sass deck.
not in Grim. Okay, not in Grim Riders.
Not
No,
very
Oh.
reminders.
just Coda or no AOA. So
So actually, here's a question for you both. So the token making we thought kind of messed with the math of the game. Do you think that there's potential for a similar effect from lots of milling, lots of self milling, right? There's always going to be the chance that you mill a lot of one house and end up playing a two or even one house deck, right? Similar to how if you were to tokenize a whole bunch of stuff. Like I feel like oh, hey, some cards are out of my deck. There's a lot of overlap between that, the effect of that from token making and the effect of that from self milling, or
so
is it more that you feel like it breaks the game when you have just a lot of dudes from one house?
I think the dudes from one house is really what
Mm.
is doing it because it's more like an incidental board that you're building. It's
Mm-hmm.
that main house that's just a backup. Like you don't even have to go that house to be able to burst with your main house. Like the burst main house thing just gets broken with tokens, and I think it's purely incidental. I think it's attributed to the mechanic itself, and because of that, there's not really a whole lot you can do about it. Like just making tokens, yes, it can make your deck feel clunky, but if you make enough of them, it doesn't matter.
Mm. Yeah.
So that's really a tribute to why tokens are, in my opinion, a bit of a power creep, and I don't think we'll be able to get another set like it just because of its mechanic.
Yeah.
So
I think the milling is different than the token making because there are some ways that you can take tokens back into hand, but they're pretty limited and they have to be like a specific time and your token has to survive and everything like that. I think Grim Reminders has a lot of ways to get cards back from the discard,
Mm-hmm.
like shuffling specific cards back into your deck or playing a specific card from your discard pile or, other ways to target it like that I don't think I did not get the same feel to the milling being as random. Granted, it was just like 5 games I played, but
Mm-hmm.
it did not feel random like tokenizing. It feels
I
random
and
to
I
me.
definitely felt like that, like the Brobnar Chaos, where it's like discard your whole hand, and it's like that completely neuters any handcrafting I was doing. And there's a lot of things where I'm like, I can't really play this because I have this generous offer I really, really want to play, but I have this other card I'd like to play, but it would get rid of this generous offer. And then I had to like figure out how to like stack and put stuff on the bottom of my deck, so then I'd redraw it. It was kind of like the outposts, right? I had an artifact like that in Equidon that put a card from my discard pile on the bottom of my deck,
Yep.
and I managed to get like 2 or 3 generous offers in there, and then at some point I could either choose to discard cards from the top of my deck or do something else. I'm like, I'm just gonna discard some cards and hopefully draw these. Like, so it's just kind of weird that the because and the extra discard pips. Sometimes like I
Sloppy
would
pip.
get into like this big hand where I'd want to play all my cards, but 3 of my cards have discard pips on them, and then it's like, I don't want to discard these. Like, so
We we need to train you, Behawk. They are sloppy
to
pips.
always be discarding.
No, they're just
Oh, to
they're just
say
called
sloppy
sloppy pips.
pips. My bad. My bad.
All right.
Sloppy
No,
pips.
but always be card discarding as well. Yes.
Yeah.
That's this is why it's our favorite set. Like we love
I
discarding
can't.
cards.
I just can't wait for like the legacy autoencoder or the borrows when they run up against an autoencoder deck. Just
Yeah.
so good.
Well, there's also an action that's pretty crazy. I think it's a Geistoid action that destroys an enemy artifact, and then you play it as if it were your own. So that's like essentially the same as a borrow, but
Yeah.
it has a few different nuances to it. Like if you go against Eaton's Jar, they have to name that card for Eaton's Jar. Otherwise, you are replaying the Eaton's Jar and getting to name a different card. Um,
Ooh,
so,
that's
but
cool.
if you have that against an autoencoder and you're already discarding tons of stuff, that's going to get out of hand fast.
That is cool. That's a cool. I didn't see that action. I like that.
Yeah. Um, I think this set's going to change how people play. Like that's one thing. Like autoencoder, I think if you see that, that's like another card that you have to discard autoencoder against. Um, I think in
Not
Furnace,
always,
people are
but
gonna maybe not always. I would say a lot. Like autoencoder is often a discard against borrow
Mm-hmm.
because it just.
really,
I think so. Yeah,
Hundo P.
I
I
do
agree.
not.
Seahawk likes to live dangerously,
I
but
do for sure.
um, like Infernus, like in the past, it's so often that you would be like just targeting the pips for Infernus. But I
Hmm.
think against the Grim Reminders within Infernus, you're going to be targeting very specific cards way more often than you're even going to care to worry about Amber control with them.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a tricky thing, right?
It always was a tricky thing, and I think we would see a lot of players go for pips just by default when it's not even the right choice usually.
Yeah.
But we're going to see it more often where they
I,
avoid the pips.
yeah, and but I think also like you're just saying nobody running in Furnace. Like everyone's like, "Woe is great, woe is me." Like,
Yeah,
so
Zyger
I
stocks
don't know.
rising. I'm excited
Yeah.
for that for sure.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I will say too that I went into the first games with Grim Reminders not really well. I wasn't sure how great of a number 10 would be for Haunted. Like it feels like a nice round number that they kind of picked out of the air, but I do feel like it was actually a really, really interesting tension point. Like it felt like you were building up to it. It felt like when you got there, you were at 10 for a reasonable amount of time before you flipped your deck. If it was like 7 or like 12 or something, you'd be like, oh, they probably tested this and 7 or 12 is the right number. But 10 felt like a good number for Haunted. And what's more, I thought there was a lot of tools to manage hauntedness, and even just outside of actual cards that shuffle or force discards and what have you, but your ability to discard or to hold cards. It was like Haunted was important enough. It felt important enough in that environment to like bend your play around, and I wasn't sure that was going to be the case. So it was cool to see. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Granted, this also was a night that this was Saturday night that they did this, and we I've been playing Keyforge for like ever leading up to it, so uh, just felt like um, I was just there to have fun and just see what happens. And I'm glad that they put it Saturday night, like after the big day, like right before the top four cut for each format. Like people are there to just basically celebrate and have fun. So it was like the perfect time, perfect thing to do. I just really appreciate that it was done at all.
agreed.
Um, and I'm also glad that it wasn't that Grim Reminders was not the set for the last chance qualifier. Just
Very
gonna
glad
say
about
that.
that.
I'm so
Very glad
glad.
about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were some people that like. I think Data Fortree might have been one of the ones. I don't know. Sorry if I'm calling you out incorrectly, but they said that that'd be really cool if that was the last chance qualifier, and I would have hated that. Like I think it's supposed to be a competitive event, and it was, and I think that would have kind of taken away a lot of the competitive balance that you'd see from it. So
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Because like it's also like a test ground for GG to be like, well, is sealed competitive? Well, like obviously if they're noting it is competitive, if they're using it as a last chance qualifier for the world championship.
yeah,
But it's with WoW, which had been well established as a set. People had been playing it. Maybe not for the some of the internationals, but for us, it had been out for I played first played it at KFC the year before, so it's like
mm,
okay, this is a well-established set. I know what to look for. I know how to
right,
build my deck and do good with it. So
yeah. I just want to say that Data Forge Stream is exonerated. He did not say that, just for the record.
Records clear.
I do think it was a common sentiment though that like
Yeah,
some people are like, oh, I wish it's Grim Reminders. So
I had heard
um,
that before too.
mm,
Yeah, but do we transition into the LCQ now? Talk about that.
Sure,
yeah, sounds good.
sure.
How'd that feel to you guys?
How'd you do in the LCQ?
Yeah, how'd it feel, JT Russell?
Oh man, yeah, I was sitting at the terminal at the gate, ready to board my plane, and got a call from home. My daughter fell off the monkey bars and broke her arm, and she's on the phone like Daddy, please come home. Like, well, I can't go play games
Oh,
while you're like maybe getting your arm operated on or something. But so I went back home and changed my flights the next day and just kind of made sure she was good. And she was fine, but we weren't sure if there was anything more going to happen. But be that as it may, it all worked out well. We were just kind of shaken up in the moment, but I did miss the last chance qualifier, unfortunately. But to Quick Draw's benefit, I mean, he got my decks.
I I was just gonna say I literally must have opened your deck because I never open anything good, and you only open good things, and it just so happens that I opened a really good deck for the LCQ,
It's because you
and
opened it right next to our Legionary Church of Legionary Scholars. Like,
and actually I did have the opportunity to play Legionary Trainer and Scholar, and
you
I
did.
did not do it.
Gosh,
Um, uh,
travesty.
I mean, I talked to you about it. I feel okay with that decision. I don't think that I had a good mix of token generation and Saurian to do it.
Hmm.
Mm.
And so I decided I would not sacrifice card quality for that.
Okay.
Um, I ended up going, I think 6-1. I forget how many games it was. It was a lot of games
You
that
know
day.
what it was. How
No, I
much?
don't. I literally don't. I don't even. I took notes. Actually, this is a great thing. I don't have it with me. I forgot so much about the Philly Vault Tour that I decided to bring a notebook this time, and I was, I think, almost perfect at writing my notes about the game right after the game. So I will have to go back to my notebook to see how many games it was. I think I was 6-1, and then they did the top cut, and I lost my first top cut match, but it was good
Hmm.
enough for sixth place, which was my choice of Archon or Alliance in the World Championship on Saturday, which was
Whoo!
totally incredible. Like it felt so good, and I wish you were there too, JT, because it would have been you playing with that deck that I played with.
Well, I may not have piloted it as well, so
Oh,
Gosh, so
oh.
excited that you made that, dude. That was so awesome.
Thank you, man. And the best part about it is that it was a Whirlpool deck that I opened,
Yeah.
and uh, I honestly I lost two games with it, including the top cut, and both games I would have won. I think if I had discarded the Whirlpool, but I just couldn't do it.
uh, yeah, I mean, I had a similar relationship with Oofbear device, but
Yeah. Oh, that is rough and sealed.
yeah,
It's a
but
great card, but I know what you
I,
mean.
could you tell me more about your Whirlpool deck?
Okay, so
Specifically the Saurian.
the Saurian I left out. So I have the deck here, so I can refresh my old man memory. I ended up having, so the deck I opened was a Equidon Saurian Unfathomable. I swapped out the Saurian, which included two Legionary Trainers because I'm an idiot, and I put in a Mars package that just had a like more targeted C. It had two Genetic Blasts. It had some token generation with the Vat Minders, and it just felt like a little bit more well-rounded that I was looking for. The Saurian itself would have been good. In fact, the deck itself is very good with it. Um, but it didn't have a ton of capture. And so when you're playing in sealed, I had like a shrewd investor. I had some capture pips. Uh, you know, it's it's a tricky decision because my Whirlpool also had a capture pip with it, and so it was so tempting to play it, knowing that I had a little bit of capture, but I wasn't sure what they had. Turns out I played against Sanctum like almost every game, and I was careful to discard it quite a lot. Um, and oddly enough, my second and third games, this is crazy coincidence. The second and third games I played were both against other Whirlpool decks that had the Cleric token. Like two
Ooh.
games in a row, two different players had Whirlpool and Cleric, and I lost one of them. And oh, actually, did I lose one of them? I think I won both. Um, I got to check my notebook. I don't know. I won both of those ones, but I was like, I had to Abyssal Slate the Whirlpool once, and I felt so sad that I took away their Whirlpool. But I had to do it.
Uh,
I was still getting sweaty at that point, and I had no choice.
Wow.
maybe this isn't the nerd in me, but one of my favorite nuggets of information that you dropped about your deck was about Scylla and Charybdis.
Yeah. One of my locals told me this, and I am not a like a mythology history buff, but apparently Scylla and Charybdis are like mythological creatures that created whirlpools in the Mediterranean Sea. And one of my locals told me this last week, and I was like so stoked about that. Like that's such a cool like theme that goes along with this deck. And then it turns out I look and I have one or two other whirlpool decks with that same combination that I'm now going to see in a different light.
Yeah, that's cool. I love
That,
that.
that feels like
Uh,
a fun fact for Ketzer as well. I feel
yeah.
like Ketzer would appreciate
It's
that
like
one.
it's a true Whirlpool deck, and it
Yeah,
looks amazing. I'm like,
yeah.
oh, so cool.
Right
So
on.
how about you,
Uh,
Beacock? How was your LCQ?
I loved my LCQ, even though I lost. I think I went 3-2. So I no, not even 2-2. I lost my first game because I turned one Oofbear device, and my opponent has Unfathomable. I think nothing of it, and then my opponent reveals on the very next turn Befuddle, and he names the house I just called, which was Star Alliance, and I was like, this is great. Instantly regret this decision, and then a couple of turns later, I'm like, okay, I feel okay. I feel like this is recoverable. I just went this house. This is the only house I can do, and it's fire. It looks so good. I'll be able to take him off check and do this. He reveals another Befuddle into the house I had just called, so I can do nothing. I have no board. He's being very meticulous and like taking care of my creatures at the house that I just went. And then if he didn't, that I'm about to go into, and then he just uses Befuddle, and he has three in the deck.
Nice.
Three Befuddles. And he flips and gets Befuddle, Abyssal Sight, and the Befuddle has a capture pip on it. If the Befuddle didn't have a capture pip on it, I won. But it
Oof.
did. And I was so mad. I was like, God dang it. I'm not going to play Oofbear Device again, especially against Unfathomable. I'm like, okay. Game two, I drop Scout, uh, Kajir, what's his name? Scout
Scout Chief.
Chief,
Yeah, Scout
Kauji,
Chief Forager.
Cordier, and Mirror Shell, and then I have two Berserker tokens, and I play Hawkins in between them, gaining two Amber. I feel great. I'm like turn two. This is like my like I feel good. And he looks at my line of creatures, and you can see like alarm bells are going off in his head, and he fights something else and leaves my Scout Chief with Mirror Shell on it, and he's like, "Oh God, what did I just do?" and the very next turn, I call Marcus over, Sophaltis online, who was one of the judges at the event. I'm like, just to be clear, can this happen? And I rule a sixth Scout Chief because Berserkers enter play ready and enraged, and against an empty board, they can then reap and make another token because they're then Scout Chief, and then so I ruled a sixth, and that was great. It was so good. I was like, man, this is awesome. Game three went up against Ned Mike, or Jeremy, and it was a berserker fest. So we were just like smacking faces against each other. But I had Mars, and he had finally outboarded me, and I'm like, okay, good. And I played Genetic Blast, I played Mars Needs Amber, and I finished it with Kaboom. It was glorious. He was like, if you didn't have that Kaboom, I think I still could have recovered. And I'm like,
Mm.
good thing I did.
Yeah.
And then game 4, I played against Captain Crispy, Logan, and I had a great start. It felt so good. I was ahead, and then there was a turning point in the game, and it was when I was getting to check with a bonus pip with none other than Oofbear device against a deck with Unfathomable,
Oh no.
and the Befuddle also had a capture pip, and I was devastated.
So that was the only way to
Oh,
get the check was to play the device. Is that right?
yeah, yep.
It really
And
flies in the face of the axiom of always be checking, right?
yeah, for sure. I was like, that was a mistake. That was a mistake. Because here's the thing, I was ahead. I was ahead enough where like I just needed to be able to play what I needed to play next turn, and because I could have done something to upset his key, do something more, but Oofbear device
Yeah.
wrecked
Oh,
me.
Yeah.
it's we have a recurring theme on pronunciation, and my brother came on once to do a double-sided artifact episode about this artifact. And do you say "oofbert device" because you play it and you go "oof"? So I always said "ulfbert device" with a really hard l at that after that u. But
Yeah.
I really like "oofbert device" because I
Yeah,
because I picture you
I
going
like
like oof.
oh, oof, Oofbert. uh,
Oh,
I'm
so
with
good,
JT on that one.
so
There's
good.
a, I pronounce the L.
But
you pronounce the L.
don't
Yeah,
change.
like
Don't change. I like "oofbert
no,
device."
it's
Oof,
great.
So good.
Oofbert. Oof. It's a soft, barely noticeable L.
I like it. I like it.
Hmm.
You see that L, and you know just how to tickle it nice and soft.
It's between an F and a B, and I'm
It was so
Oh,
good.
so Marcus said his most interesting ruling interaction was for the Scout Chief Mirror Shell.
Oh,
So
right
hmm.
on.
congratulations.
Right
Thanks.
on.
Did you get a badge for that?
I don't know. I did get something special. Worked with Vargas to come up with some of the answers on some of his special questions.
Oh, did you? Oh,
Oh,
so listen,
cool.
I had some fantastic answers to those riddles, and he said that they were wrong. And I was
No
like,
way.
yeah.
What
So
what'd
like
you say? What'd you say?
for 42 jersey, I was like, this
Hmm.
is probably a Jackie Tar reference. 42
Oh,
being the number that Jackie Robinson wears, and it's a baseball
Mm.
jersey. And I
you're
was like,
talking
this,
to a board gamer thinking he knows
but
about
he's wearing a
sports.
baseball
Okay.
jersey.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the other
So,
one was 314, and I was like, this has to be Pi Sweven, but it's not.
okay.
Ah,
Hmm.
interesting. We literally just took the colors of his jersey and made them into a house, and then looked up on Arcana Cana the house number, or the card number for that house, and it would be like forgive or forget would come up, and we're like, oh, somebody probably forgot something, and then like, yeah, so just stuff like that
And so
is
you
what we
you
did.
won. You got 3 correct.
We got some number correct that he was like, yeah, thanks, that's good enough. We
So,
had a little.
just fill folks in who aren't sure what you're talking about. There was some sort of like contest or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
he
go ahead.
Whoa.
no, he had a little sheet of paper with some riddles on it. And so at
Mm-hmm.
every vault tour of the past year, Marcus has worn a different baseball jersey with a different color scheme and a different number on the back.
Okay.
And each number has some kind of significance in Keyforge. And so you had to guess what
Mm.
was the significance of that number. And sometimes the colors in the jersey also played into the relevance of that number.
Mm, yep. And it
Interesting.
could be like a card name, it could be the flavor text, it could be something related to it. So
Ooh.
I went
Yeah.
literal with the keyboard references instead of extrapolating with like 314 and stuff being pi.
Yeah, that's good. I always hear 314 and think of Mission Impossible. I don't know why. Job
Uh,
314, right? I don't know.
Mm.
Deep cut there. But
it is pretty deep. I don't get that one.
there's a chat from DataForge stream that says 42 has to be a Portal reference.
I don't get that. Can you
Uh,
help us out there?
yeah.
Uh,
Anyone?
Oh,
Hortal, is that the flavor text?
is that 42 in some language? I don't know. Perhaps. I don't know.
The meaning of life.
Yeah, the meaning of life.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah.
I have to say that
Hmm.
Marcus may have said that was his most interesting ruling interaction, but oh, that is a Hitchhiker's Guide to the
Um,
Galaxy reference.
art
See, I
inspired by
don't
it. There
know.
you go.
I'm
Okay.
not a nerd like B-Hawk. I don't know that. I felt that the most interesting rules interaction that I had came on Saturday night. I think it was game one of the Grim Reminders tournament, and it was like about 8:50 or so, and they made an announcement over the loudspeakers that this was last call for the bar, and I raised my hand for a judge, and my favorite ghost, Michael, comes over. He's like, "Yeah, what's up?" And I said, I'm playing a game here, but they just made last call. Would you go buy me a beer?" And he was like, "Sure. What do you want?" And he came back with a beer of my choice within 5 minutes, and I took
So
that
good.
man, and
Michael's awesome.
he's my hero. Like
Yeah.
he is. I told him after the event, I was like, "You're a legend, just so you know
Yeah.
that." Like
It's
that just made my entire weekend. Like
so good. Oh.
last call is pretty early there, I will say. Last call I think was
It's
at
like
9
what,
p.m.
10?
I thought it
9?
was 9, maybe 10.
9.
I don't
Yeah,
remember.
I think it was 9.
And
Um,
and he didn't even find out that you're only 20. So
he didn't even card me. I know. Thank God. No, we can't joke about that. We're gonna get him in trouble.
yeah,
Uh,
these are in sloppy lab work years. You know, we have some young, dubious age schemes. I don't know.
Yeah, because Crusader's what, 14?
At
15.
13?
15,
Yeah,
that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Well, cool. That's funny. I don't know if I had any great rulings, though. I did get a badge from Marcus, which was a lot of fun because I had at one point uh, called him over to help me convince my opponent that they were supposed to get amber from the witch that gives you amber when you shuffle, because they were instructed to shuffle by a card while having an empty discard pile. And I was saying,
Oh,
no, 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 you should still get that amber. And they were not sure. And we got the judge over to clear things up. Um,
Here it is. I found mine.
yeah.
This is the badge.
There's
So
the
again,
badge. There's the badge.
kudos to you guys watching on Twitch. You can see this is what the badge looks like. Is it focused at all? Is it
Yeah, it
visible?
yeah, I
looks,
see it. Yeah.
well,
Okay, perfect.
looks good to me.
I got this bad boy because one of the games that I lost in the LCQ went to time, and I was facing this situation that like the whole board itself looked like one of those puzzles that people post on Facebook or elsewhere. I looked at this and was like, there has to be an answer here for me to like get 7 amber this turn and win the tiebreaker by 1. And he just said he really appreciated my approach to the situation of like, thinking of it like a puzzle and just trying to solve the puzzle and, you know, not being like super sweaty about it, but just trying to like think critically about it. And he appreciated that with the game
Hmm.
that went to time. So
Oh,
um, that's how I got
okay.
my badge.
Nice.
We really do have some great judges, great folks volunteering their time, and Marcus and Blinking Line have been at I think every event that I've seen, certainly.
Yeah.
And yeah, Marcus has been doing this thing where he's printing out these patches, giving them out to folks that he's had good interactions with. So that's pretty cool, and you can see folks really
Hmm.
appreciating getting them. I mean, it was a weekend for great swag. So I got one of those patches. I had some custom keys made by Zoc that I was sporting and got lots of compliments on. So that was super
Great.
cool to have. So thank you much again, Zoc. That was awesome. And with my ABR playmat, getting lots of compliments on the ABR playmat too. So very cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I got my first Slappy Labwork tee.
There you go.
That was nice.
There you go.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Oh, did you guys rock the sleeves this weekend?
Ooh, you know,
I brought them with me and I did not.
I don't have them on me. I wish I had them.
Oh, I rocked the gift from you, Quick Draw. I used that on my Sealed Alliance. Um,
The sleeves, you mean?
yeah, the sleeves.
Yeah.
Those are so cool. Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Got lots
Yeah.
of good compliments on
Do you,
those.
do you have them right behind you? I see you have a bunch
I
of
looked.
research decks there.
No, they're in
Uh,
another
no.
box that's beyond my grasp.
Yeah. Anyone watching will have to tune in next week to see these sleeves.
Absolutely, this
I
was
don't
cool. I'm embarrassed to say so we made a trade. We made a deck trade, quick draw,
know.
and the deck you gave me had custom sloppy labwork sleeves on them. And I didn't
Yeah.
even notice until the end of the weekend.
That
Well,
was that was the fun.
Oh
I
man.
didn't, I didn't look in the back. I was just like, "Whoa,
And
I love this deck," yeah, but I didn't look at the back of the sleeves. Yeah,
I kept quiet. I was like, he's gonna see that sometime, and he's gonna hopefully enjoy that.
you know,
Yeah.
much enjoyed, much enjoyed. Yeah, yeah, totally. So super cool. Well, I mean, lots of highlights to be sure. I want to talk a little bit too about the Q&A stuff, things that were said, and nuggets that we gleaned, or things that we were hoping to hear but maybe didn't hear. If it's hard to transition, unless there's anything else you folks wanted to hit first.
Oh, I do want to touch on the world champs themselves.
Mm.
Just like so, um, just in terms of the people that were in it. So like, I had Miggy and Paul or Isawa and Vargas all in my car driving up to Kansas City. And I remember, I just want to tell this story because I just love this story about the Legionary Scholars, the Church, the Legionary Scholars, and how Vargas and I were like first to hop in. And last vault tour for Roseville, Miguel was testing. He kept trying to make some Amberling work, and I'm like, no, 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 no. Let me show you. Here's some Legionary Trainer Scholar pods. Do something with that. Trust me, it's great. And we both used that in our alliance for the Roseville Vault Tour. Loved it, and he just like caught this bug. And Data Force Stream like pointed out to me, was like, hey, your buddy's he's actively acquiring pods for this. I'm like, that's awesome. He because Miguel would like just send me links, just like, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? I'm like, that's great. That's awesome. And just like be super excited about it to have someone in 100% for Legionary Scholar. And then he gets it in. He gets into the Alliance track from the Last Chance qualifier, and Isawa got into the Archon for the Last Chance qualifier, and we're all sitting in our hotel room trying to figure out what to play. And Miguel had an idea, but Vargas and I had some ideas for like what could be better for his other pods. Um, and Paul, we were trying to convince to use one of Vargas' decks, Symbol, which is the triple legionary trainer, scholar, double inspiring oration. Just such a good deck. I've played with and against that deck, and I think it's amazing. I'm like, Paul, this is it. We're inducting you into the Church of Legionary Scholar tonight. And he was all like, oh, I don't know. I don't. Is it really that good? It's only one power. There's no Amber control in this thing, and we're like, no, 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 just try it, just please, like, and Vargas and him were up playing some games. It's like, wow, this is really good. I like this. And then so like next morning, they're both walking in with decks that they basically untested. Like they only tested it the night before for a couple of hours, and just that they did so well that they were XO day one for that was for the world champs was just so crazy to me that they made it that far, and then that Miguel came in third, beating Dave Cordero, and man, that semifinals for the world championships being kind of decided by a punt. It felt like in both games, like
Mm,
that Ashitaka forgot to um, use his artifact to capture one, and then Miguel saw that he had ZYX Researcher because he abyssal sided, got Martian Generosity. I'm jumping up and down. He's like, he's got this. And it's against Downit's dad. And I'm like, oh no, he sees ZYX Researcher. And he could have fought to put something on top of that Martian Generosity.
Hmm.
Just didn't. Just reaped or something instead. I'm like, oh no. Of course,
yeah.
Downit's dad. I'm so excited that he went on to win Alliance, but man, Miguel had it. He
Yeah.
had it.
They've got to be so
Oof.
proud of how they played though. Like
Yeah, they
they
do.
crushed
That it
it.
just all of them were just so ecstatic, just like super high on it the whole way home, and just I'm just so happy. Like my car took home 22% of the overall World Championships cash.
Not
So,
that anyone's counting.
yeah, the, Margas is a tax guy, and he just like came up with that number. I'm like, okay, I'll go with
That's
that.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, those
it's
guys
really
were
cool.
super great.
Hmm.
Very happy for them. My world championship run didn't go as well. 1 and 2. You can catch my elimination game on stream against Algernon. But ton of fun. No regrets. I was playing Kanben that JT had up in the background, AOA deck with the Sting and key cheats. Just I will say the meta surprised me a bit in the World Championship for Archon. There was a lot more AOA and Coda than I expected. I don't know what the numbers were, but obviously the winner was playing a Coda deck, first print run Coda, no less.
Hmm.
And I expected a lot more mass mutation and Winds of Exchange like we'd seen at recent Vault Tours, but that wasn't the case.
Yeah, that was interesting for sure.
Yeah, I'm
I
excited to
would
see the
love
numbers when they publish them.
I would love to see, yeah, detailed breakdown on both sides because I did feel like there was a decent amount of woe on the open side, but it didn't sound like a ton on the main event side. So interesting, very interesting.
Yeah, I only stuck around for 3 games, but I played against one woe in those 3 games, and then game one was AOA, which I knew looking at the Archon cards, it was a really rough matchup with a TMTP and 2 Brens and
Hmm.
Sharkamedes and things like that. Um, but it is that's Keyforge. It happens. I have no regrets about it. I thought I played all right. I did go back. I need to think about like the like JT, you were talking about one of our future topics potentially being like I forget how you worded it, like visualization and calculation. And I
Hmm.
think that this is kind of what you're referring to really is I was trying to think ahead a few turns, like with the sting out, and do I binate rupture here? And do I have enough card draws to get my key cheats in time, or should I just go to shadows a turn early just to get rid of the sting? And so I might have made a miscalculation. I had my reasons at the time, so I don't know if I would call it a misplay, but um, you know, no regrets again. A
Yeah.
lot of fun, and I thought the coolest thing, big surprise for me at the very end after the awards ceremony, they announced that they printed out posters for everybody that qualified of the deck that they played, and so that's what JT's showing here is the poster that I got for the deck that I played that qualified. Well, the deck didn't qualify. The deck I played at the World Championship, which I have, it's super cool. I'm so happy with it. I know some people like weren't really excited about posters for the game found, but this is to
But
me like
it
this
it
is
is
special.
symbolizing like what it meant is so cool though. Like
Yeah,
that's the thing for
exactly.
me.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So I loved it. I'm
mhm,
very happy with that surprise from Ghost Galaxy. So kudos to them for making that happen.
yeah.
Yeah, that was a really cool moment. And folks, I don't know, it can sound underwhelming if you just hear about it after the fact, but certainly as a symbol of like what it meant for the weekend and the culmination of like the year of playing and like all the testing that went in and like you have to realize that in the moment, you hear like, oh, and one more thing, like behind the doors back there, like all the the posters are up there, is just
Yeah.
really cool kind of
Yeah.
moment. So we were all walking around for a while too, looking at posters of decks, and folks are like, "What the heck does this one do?" Or like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Also, one thing I really loved was the night the like right before the top four was announced, they put out the posters for all the decks in the semis. So all what is it, 8 decks, four for each
hmm
format, and people are like, "What?" They're like actually showing, like publishing before everyone goes to bed what's there, and that was just super cool. Although I do wish that they had let the name be the deck name that the user submitted, although they had known that it would be used, I'm sure people would have put a little more time into it. But Miguel's was so good. His was broken, but still good. A nice little Lilo and Stitch reference. uh, so good. But Yeah, I loved that aspect of it because it just really was like it felt like this is a world championships. Like people don't need to like be hiding their decks or anything, and it also eliminates the fact that like some teams, like anybody that was there, they could have known exactly what decks were being played. Like because that's kind of like the team's job is to be like, no, this person was playing this deck, this person was playing this deck. So the whole thing is like, so you're prepared for your matchups, and this was like, no, anyone should know this. You shouldn't be hiding behind some mystery factor of it. Just felt like it elevated the game.
Yeah, that reminds me the logistics of the World Championship as well. They were very careful about how they organized it. They had no spectators in the room. When you finished a game, they made you leave the room immediately, so there was no scouting involved. They
So
held
good.
your deck for you, so between games, you did not have access to your deck. So they ensured that it was the correct cards that were in the deck every time. I just thought the organization was top notch there for everything
Superb.
to
So good.
ensuring the integrity of the event was really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
felt confident in it the whole time.
Yep.
On the open side, not to detract from your world championship
Let's
run
talk open.
there, open,
It was a short run. Not much more to talk about.
I lost in the final round that would have been like cut to top eight to what's his name? Symbol? No, not Symbol. I'm thinking of the deck name. It's
Hmm.
let me. It's I just played him.
You gotta check your sloppy
Um,
notebook.
I do. That's what I'm looking for. Sunday
Sunday.
Mm,
was
Sure,
his
sure.
name.
Yeah.
So I played him in my final match. I got groundled.
mm.
Rondel with a fish token, and for some reason I just couldn't get rid of it, and it just dismantled me somehow. Just like he just started getting, he like he we exchanged deck lists at the very beginning of the game, and I'm like, oh, we need to switch deck lists, and he's like, oh no, that's it. And I look again because what catches my eye is the fact that on the right, my deck list has 3 Fathom Reavers, and he handed me a deck list on the right side had 3 Fathom Reavers. And that's why I'm like, no way. Like these look all identical, but then I look, oh, okay, so you have a fish token and all this other stuff. But I ended up like using Swapper to get to get a Fathom Reaver,
Hmm.
but then
Mm.
I still just couldn't do anything about Grondel. I just couldn't get to my stuff. Spartosaur was buried.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about
Uh,
Spartosaur.
Spinosaur did nothing the whole open tournament.
Oh,
It was in my first game. It was the first token to get, uh, and then the second and third tokens were closed door negotiations. And
mm.
that first game was against a Coda Rush deck. So the Spartosaur I didn't really care that much. Didn't really help a whole lot. The only problem was that he had Gateway Arise Russian Guntus, but that ended up not being a problem. It was mostly that he just gained so much amber, and my closed door negotiations were tokens. But he did say if you had had either of those, he would have lost. So
Yeah.
I took that with a grain. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Uh, game 2, I went up against someone, Yakin, who had a DT deck. It was one of the coolest DT decks I've seen. Or sorry, that was game 3. Game 2 was against Grave Honor. It was just there to have fun. And I was sitting next to Sad Cry Bear and Varcast, which Sad Cry Bear got eliminated at KFC last year from Vargast because they had both lost their first game, and then Vargas beat Sad Cry Bear, and then made a run all the way to top 8. Well, Sad Cry Bear was there for a revenge match, sitting across the table from Vargast, and Vargast went 0-2. Sad face day. I sat right next to that.
Hmm.
And then game 3 was against Yakin. He's younger, rocking this DT deck. I'm like, man, you're doing quick draw proud representing this set. But it had a really cool Star Alliance with double Triska, Hings, Gross, United Action, or Unity or Discord. Is that it? The
Yeah.
bouncy
Yeah.
one?
To
Mhm.
bounce them, so you could
And
use
it also had Together
nice.
and Espeon. And he had his logos was like a final analysis data forge, really cool.
Cool.
thing, and I was like, I'm about to get comboed. And one turn, it almost happened. It almost happened. Like he was like just a couple cards off from drawing to flip, so that he could get back some stuff.
Because he
So
can play the together to play the final analysis, and
yeah,
then the data forge to forge, and probably just replay all of those Star Alliance creatures.
yeah,
That's awesome.
Oh, that's cool.
yeah. It was really nutty, really crazy. And with the Unity or Discord and the Triscos being able to have it interplay ready, oh man, wild. And then the third game I played against Zenzik, who's in my NKFL division. Like, all right, we're getting a little preview here for our match. And he was telling me, he's like, yeah, last game I turned one Holofested and just called Brobnar the rest of the game. I'm like, wow, that sounds like a nice walk-off win. And I look at my hand and I'm like, I'm breathing a sigh of relief because I'm like, this is a great hand. It's like trainer, Longosaur. Like that's all I need, like most of the time to feel okay. And then he uh and I turn one play Fathom Reaver, right? So like I feel like okay, I have a token, my token can reap and it could do something if he doesn't take care of Fathom Reaver. Fathom Reaver is a great card. Uh but what he does after I play that is he plays Holofest on his turn one and just drops a boatload of creatures. And I just look at that, I'm like, oh god. Oh no. And he's like, well, sounds like this will be a lot like last game. He's got 4 chains. He only draws to 4 because of the Fathom Reaver. I'm like, okay, that feels okay. I'm like, well, let's just see what happens. And I go my scholar turn. I play trainer. I tokenize some garbage. I reap. I draw an arm the plebs. I'm like, okay, that's good. Arm the plebeians. That'll give me another token. I I I play it, and then I draw something okay. Then I play Longosaur and I draw into Phalanx Strike after I reap with that creature. And I'm able to get rid of Hermalatoon, and I should have done Volca, but I did a Brick Nasty because it was a double Brick Nasty.
Hmm.
Volca would have set me up better, but he had to sacrifice a lot of his board to get rid of what I had presented to him.
Yeah.
So I felt pretty good about what was in my hand to carry on from there, especially considering how many chains he had. So that was like one of my more satisfying wins. Was recovering from a turn one Holofest. So
So much for turn one Hellfest being an auto win, then, right?
yeah, I proved it is not the case.
I'm surprised that the Brick Nasty is a common choice. Like, I don't blame you at all for that. After Harmalatoon, I actually, if it were me, would have maybe done the Get Hammer,
Hmm.
just to like reach more sites.
Get Hammer. Sorry, so I did do Get Hammer. Because I had I think something else.
I think the
Hmm.
Volca is actually like you brought up some good points. Like the Volca is a sneaky good choice there against Scholars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Get Hammer would have been good. But I did the Hermalatoon,
No,
and
no, no.
then
The Harmal's great. You have to get rid of the
yeah,
Harmal first.
Harmel's got to go.
But the second one for the second part of Phalanx Strike,
should have
it's
been
tough between Brick,
Get Hammer or
Ged, and
Volca.
Volca.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a really tough decision.
it is.
Hmm.
I think Volca should have been the choice because the splash attack, because of the way that I play my cards, it ends up being like scholar creature, scholar creature, scholar creature. So then it's just it's kind of easy to just fight 3 times and wipe a board of 6. So,
Hmm.
Yeah.
Oof.
but he gains less armor for it.
Yeah. You have such vivid memory of your games.
Um, I did write down some of them,
I mean,
but
I wrote down some too, and it would take me a very long time to figure out what happened in these games. And
well,
you remember the order, you remember the opponent, you remember the turn one.
uh, I yeah, I guess
It's impressive. That's all.
I thanks.
Nerd.
Just there it is.
You're building up to that. We saw it coming.
Uh,
Nice. Nice. Yeah, it was fun. I also had a run up until the win in rounds and did not win they ended up winning in round. My last game was against. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. He told me just to say Carl after a couple failed attempts. But the player Benquo, I'm not sure how to say Benquo, Benko maybe was playing the Vault Master Halifest deck that ended up in the finals against Ben the Monkey, uh, and I he
That's
yeah,
the one that had Grim Reminder with it,
that's
right?
the one that had Grim Reminder with it, yeah,
Jeez.
and a couple copies of Ganger Chieftain to get
Ooh,
things
with
rolling
My
Holophest?
with
That's
gosh.
so
Hellfest.
much better than Shock Herder, man. That's cool.
It's good. I mean, sometimes you do want Shockherder to be able to
Bite
die
into something small, yeah.
and die, yeah. But yeah, I also had Think Twice Data Forge stream, absolutely. So it was cool. Uh, I I won't say that my opponent played really well. They played better than I did. I won't say that I lost on a punt, but I definitely made mistakes in that hurt my chances a lot. Yeah, and ones that I kind of identified, like plays that I identified while reading the deck list, just kind of like durfed on in the moment, and womp womp. Yeah,
Hmm.
have a very tempting. Um, oh gosh, I'm blanking on the name now in the moment. Belligerent Guard with an Ember Pip on it, and I'm like, oh, I'm just get this game. I'm just gonna make traders. My deck makes traders, and I'll just leave one powered dudes out there, and Get Hammer will have nothing to fight into. Or rather, Harmola Tune will have nothing to fight into. Whichever one, the Ready and Enraged one will
Had
have nothing.
hammers that destroyed, yeah.
Yeah, nothing to fight into. And then in the moment, just got really greedy. Played my Belligerent Guard, got a couple Ember, and made two keys very
I
quickly,
I
and then
I
that
hate
was
that
it.
card, man. Just it's drawing what they need.
I like it a lot. I like it a lot. It was a bad play when I played it, and I like knew the moment when I played it. And if yeah, I don't know, would have been had much better chances just sticking to making traders, But
We all had the same
womp womp.
moment though this weekend of like B-Hawk playing the
Oof, Barrett.
um, Oofbert.
Oof, Barrett.
You were playing the Belligerent Guard, and I was playing the Whirlpool. Like one of the times when I lost, I said to my opponent, "I'm about to make a mistake," and I was like, "I'll play Whirlpool." Like I knew I shouldn't have done it,
Oh.
but I did it anyway. And we all had that
Yeah,
kind of moment here.
yeah. I think when they're looking at balancing pips, they really need to make those more complex decision cards not have pips.
Too tempting.
Make the game dumber.
Too
like
tempting.
like belligerent card that basically has a pip because he could reap or fight with it, like and then
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
whirlpool that has a pip, man.
Yeah.
Oof Bear has a pip.
Always be discarding. Always be card discarding. Not tonight. Reminding
Hmm.
us from the chat. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. We strayed. We strayed from the path,
We
and
I
did.
know.
we paid as we should. What can we say? Um,
Yeah.
well, we're going long, so I'm gonna move us along here,
Okay.
folks. I want to touch very briefly, at least, on some of the Q&A stuff. If only
Yeah.
for the promises that were made. Um, I am excited for the some of the storyline events. Not because I think that they'll necessarily be ones that I'm able to attend. Chances are probably not great, but I think it's going to be a cool thing to add to the mix, and I'm excited to dig into the lore that may hopefully come with it. Ketzer had asked last time around if we could ask if there would be any more fiction coming. It does not sound like there's any fiction in the works, but there are storyline events planned. And Christian T. Peterson even said at one moment that he had written some of the backstory stuff for one of the upcoming sets. I forget which of the two.
Amber Skies.
Amber Skies,
Is
it
that
may
what
have
it's
been.
called?
Yeah, I
No.
forget. I forget.
Spoiler alert.
Forget which, but half of me was like, hey man, like maybe focus on making the sets, but also they only have like 4 people at the
Yeah.
company, so you do what you got to do. But it doesn't sound like they have fiction in the works currently, but there should
Sounds
be
like an
some.
excellent job for ChatGPT.
Hmm.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. The keynote this year, they were a little bit more like vague, intentionally vague. Like they were keeping their cards close to the chest this year, whereas last year they were like, "We're doing this, we're doing this. There's this much money." This year was very much more like, "Well, we're gonna. This is a high level plan for the next 6 months, largely centered around like a local organized play." But they didn't give a ton of details. So like they didn't really give a ton of details on what the storyline events are going to be.
Hmm.
So it sounded like they were just trying to be. They learned some lessons from last year about like making promises that they couldn't keep, and I think they're just trying to, you know, give us some goodies about what's coming, but not really like commit to anything or make any specific promises about it.
Which is now we're realizing that's why they don't other companies don't be so vocal about what's going on,
Yeah,
right? Because they were new and like, yeah, no, we'll be honest, this is what we're shooting for, and then it's like, oh well, we didn't get there,
and
Hmm.
people
grace,
were
and it's like
disappointed.
not a
Yeah,
lot of people had that, so
yeah,
Yeah, the
um,
messaging was much more measured, much more, I don't want to say reserved, still very, very enthusiastic, lots of excitement from the GG folks too.
mm,
But we didn't see a slide that got, screen captured a lot from the last one, which is like, these are going to be the tiers of the events with money attached to each, and this is how many of each type we're going to run. Like we didn't see a slide like that. It was more of like, yeah, we're going to push some of the store level organized play more, but there wasn't like a level of detail behind that assertion, right? There was a lot of enthusiasm, but much more measured in their messaging, which I think is probably, yeah, it's probably good. They maybe got out a little bit ahead over their skis last time, and are being a little bit careful about that this time around, which is fair. Which is fair.
yeah. Thought it was
yeah.
fine. Um, there was one question that I wanted to ask, and Fabulousing asked it for me. I was very happy with that. It was about power creep and if they are kind of intentionally, you know, trying to introduce power creep into these sets or how they're managing to control it. And the answer to me, to be honest, was not super satisfying. They kind of said they don't go into the set, with the intention of power creep, which has kind of like a hidden meaning to me that like maybe they don't, maybe they're doing it subconsciously and they don't realize it, or maybe they don't realize they're like, I don't know. I wanted to hear them say like, yeah, like we know that these last few sets are more powerful, and we're gonna try to control that and rein that in. But it
Did you say
sounded
the last
instead to
few?
uh, referring to grim reminders
Oh, okay. I
and
mean,
yeah,
all right, jury's out on that one, but
yeah, jury's out for sure. Um, but I kind of wanted to hear more acknowledgement that yeah, like the last grim reminders and winds of exchange were more powerful. Like the answer kind of sounded to me like they didn't think they were, and I don't really agree with that, and so that gives me a little pause about like the design future. I love the design space. I just don't want it to be like continuing power creep where like ectocharge did not need to be a free key cheat. It would still be a pretty good card if it was limited to six, because it comes with a pip. So things like that, like I thought there was some unnecessary power creep in these sets where the cards would be perfectly fine, uh, you know, toned down a little bit.
yeah, I could see that. But I also think power creep was incidental to the mechanic and the gimmick of the set. And yes, sure, you could make an argument that Unfathomable having basically two different cards that did the same thing, unlike any other set. Like there's daughter, there's mother, there's not daughter and mother, but in Unfathomable and Woe, there's Fuguru and Fathom Reaver, and then for the Control of the Weak equivalent, there's Illusions of Grandeur and Befuddle, and pairing that with a common of Abyssal Sight, like that's just crazy. And then there's Sunk Cost and Plunder, like just wild. So
Hmm.
I love it. I'm not a disc main right now. I'm an Unfathomable main, and I like it. I like the wet disc. Uh, but I don't think I think it's almost balanced because of the tokenizing mechanism being so random. And it's kind of like that critique I had a long time ago about how like, yeah, look at all these really cool cards we designed, and somebody else is like, you know what would be even better? A one powered token. And the guy's like, what? And then you play it and you're like, yeah, sometimes my best cards are tokens and sometimes my worst cards are tokens, and there's that range. where sometimes it feels amazing and sometimes it feels awful. So, but usually it's somewhere in the middle.
Mm.
Um, I think that's really what WoW is. I don't think the card design, now that WoW's out, I think if we were to compare like our gleamings of Grim Reminders to other sets except for WoW, I think maybe you could say there's an argument for power creep. But now that WoW's out and it is power creep, it's kind of like the set after the hype, just is not there. That's why DT. So maybe it's a DT. I don't know.
We
We'll
just don't want
see.
to be
Yeah.
we don't want to be the Mercadian masks, coming
Right.
after Urza block, where well, for the MTG history nerds out there, right? We had Urza block, which was like bananas over the top power level wise, and the designers got pulled into the CEO's office and were like, if you do this crap again, like you're out of here, And then the next set we get, or the next block we get is Masks block, which is like Dud City, and we
Yeah.
probably lost more folks from that than anything else.
Now that
As
you mention it, I might have quit during the Masks block because I
see,
definitely loved the Urzus block,
hmm
and I remember like quitting shortly after Mercadian Masks came out.
it was a big
But
deal. It was folks just thought it was boring.
I
Folks
was
just thought it
very
was boring.
casual, so like I'm
Uh,
not really like. There's probably other reasons that I quit.
the the real question is, if not power creep, and this is not necessarily, no, not meant to be a straight up argument for it, but like how we sell in the packs, is it is our kind of idea just that there's going to be different experiences and that's what's going to get people to buy keep buying new packs, because if it's not like, hey, there's something even better here, then what's the driver? And that's probably not a topic. That's probably not a topic for tonight, but it'd be an interesting one to get into.
hmm
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
Any
I
other
mean, I am looking
questions?
forward to a set that doesn't need a gimmick.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. I think a hook or like a marquee mechanic is probably fine. They actually, am I misremembering this? Did the ghosts throw out the term block at one point, in reference to a combination of multiple sets? I don't know if I'm just misremembering that.
I don't think I heard that.
Hmm,
It's definitely a magic term.
it's definitely a magic term,
Mm.
but maybe not. One thing that did catch my ear, though, they were reluctant to commit to any sort of structure, for the next season, and even hinted that sealed might be a thing that's being considered. Um,
Ooh, man. Ooh.
it was hinted, or at least it was asked whether or not it would be, and was not shot down. We'll,
Yeah,
we'll say that. I don't want to like over I don't know, give a bad characterization. It was not shut
they gave a
down.
lot of
Yeah.
yeah they gave a lot of politically correct answers. Like we can neither
Yeah.
confirm nor deny that.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
but it gives people hope that maybe Sealed will be coming back. And there was, I think, a large applause at the question of like, will Sealed come back as a
Hmm.
vault event? So I think the message was received.
I'll tell you, after going to Gen Con in 2019 and there being the sealed main event and then the Archon main event, that was one of my favorite events. And it got tons of people locally to go because they feel like that their deck collection can't compete in Archon, but they can play the heck out of a deck that they open. And that's Aisawa is a prime example of that. He was mostly there because the play-in event was sealed. If it was any other format, I don't think he would have made the commitment to go.
Hmm. Hmm.
I thought the last chance qualifier Sealed was perfectly fine. I know some people
Mm,
had issues with it being a different format than they were playing into. I thought it was perfectly fine. Sealed is Keyforge to me. I think that was a great idea to use that for the last chance
yeah, for
qualifier.
sure.
Yeah. I suspect it ended up being the format for the last chance qualifier more as a I don't know, not coincidence or out of necessity. I think they had a sealed event planned for that Friday, and then realized that they needed a last chance qualifier, and said, hey, look at the sealed event we're running already. Um, but I hope that the reception of it, yeah, was heard, and it definitely sounded like they were. I, I wouldn't be surprised to see high level sealed events getting pushed next year, but we'll see once the announcements come.
Yeah.
I'd love to see it. Love to
I
see it.
think it was 137 people playing in the last chance qualifier. which means that
Oh,
I believe that was the largest event of the year.
in the U.S., certainly. I don't know.
Yes, actually, it was in the year. I think Florence was the next
Okay.
highest,
I think it
and it
was
was
close. Yeah,
by like within 10 people though.
I think so too. Yeah. So
Wow.
I think that says something. But
Hmm.
um, were there any other questions from the Q&A that stuck out to you guys? I don't remember anything else in particular.
Just some contextually relevant answers about time frame for deck copies was nice to hear about.
Which is
Is it 3 to 4 months?
3 to 4 months was what they had said. So it was asked where things were at with the deck translations and copies of decks getting rolled out, and 3 to 4 months was the answer, which is kind of the corporate speak of like pretty soon, not immediately, but not the end, not a year,
Yeah, yeah,
you
not
know.
Q1, end of Q1, probably Q2.
Right, right.
yeah.
So it's coming soon. It's in the works. I will say that I was one of the folks who opened up a duplicate deck. I had opened up a duplicate deck and thought it'd be really cool to get one of those twin of decks. A nice novelty. Um, and so I went down that route and got delivered a duplicate, twin of deck at KFC. So like those
Nice.
those are being rolled out. Like the presses are running. Like I don't know. It's a
Yeah.
thing they're doing.
I was surprised my buddy opened one as well, and he was like, I'll just take a different deck. I think he just didn't want to inconvenience them, but
I took a new deck. I had two of them, and I just took new decks because they weren't that interesting anyway.
Yeah.
yeah.
But
I have a. I just think it's kind of a cool thing to have. So I'm not
Hmm.
sure if it's a Jupiter or Katmara out there has the other one, but we've got a.
Yeah, I just kind of joked that the DT part of the algorithm was still in there that made evil twins, and then they just were like, here's a line that removes the evil twin part of the dex, and it just removed the evil twin of portion of the name.
it's possible. I mean,
I'm sure
maybe.
somebody. I just sometimes just want to know what's going on behind the scenes there, just to see what are
And
the
everyone
decisions.
during the keynote, they showed a video of like the production of Grim Reminders, and everybody laughed very loudly whenever they showed like this scene on the conveyor belt. They're like, and this is a machine here that'll scan every deck as it comes off the conveyor belt to make sure there's no duplicates. I don't know if they did that on purpose or if that was added like
I'm sure
because
that
of the
like that
first week.
portion, so like I'm sure what they did is like they had the printing process and it should only print one, right? But then they get through all the printing logistics and then they get it cut and then they get it cellophane wrapped and then it's about to go into the packaging, the foil. They're like maybe we should do one more check before that just in case. And that's where I think they had that scanner was right before it gets wrapped. So that makes
Mm.
sense. It's like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, cool. That's what they did to prevent further copies.
Mm.
Well, going forward, we can say with confidence, hopefully, there were
That Keyforge is a unique deck game.
starting now 0 days since
Starting now.
duplicate decks printed.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it's cool to have those exceptions floating around out there as long as they're not too many. And now it's like a little piece of history or something from the game. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, we got some of those duplicates that snuck through.
Yeah.
So cool. But all right, folks. I don't know. Any final thoughts before we wrap this on up?
So I got, if anyone wants a chance at the second place Archon finalist and the third place in Alliance, we're doing a event this weekend here in Kansas City. It's with a charity. The event is called Meeple-a-thon, and it's using Meeple to help people. And we're having our fourth annual Midwest Charity Keyforge Open. And the main event, there's an Archon event on Friday, and there's a sealed two deck sealed survival on Saturday. That's our main event. Um, so if you're interested in that, maybe we can get a link somewhere, um, or hit me up on Discord, and we'll get you the relevant information. Uh, really looking forward to it. It's gonna be good.
Yeah, I wish I could make it. I was joking that I should probably try to annoy my wife all week so she gets so angry at me, and she's like, "Just get out of the house and go play Keyforge again for a weekend," and I'll make my way to Kansas City then.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Well, yeah, it should be fun. I see it come up every year, and I'm like, one of these times.
Yeah.
One of these
Yeah,
times.
unfortunately this time it just happened to coincide like the weekend after World, so we understand it's gonna probably be a smaller event. But we've got a really cool handmade trophy for the first place finisher.
It looks amazing.
It's designed by Josh, and it's the Promised Blade. I've been seeing the in process
Very
pics
cool.
and seeing it done. It's so good. I
Yeah,
have one from a couple years ago that he made that depicts a fair game. It's one of my favorite trophies.
awesome.
I'm glad I got that one. So,
Cool.
Very cool.
mhm.
And I just want to add for, I guess, probably not this week 'cause don't have anything planned for this, but I did pick up some extra Vault Master decks
Hmm.
and would love to give one away to a listener. So don't know how we're going to do that yet, but we're probably going to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I grabbed my allotment before they opened the vaults and said folks could buy as much as they wanted of those until they ran out. Um, but yeah, hope to give some away too. I have a couple puzzle ideas brewing. I might
Mm,
need I might need a judge or two to spot check a few things, but maybe we'll do some puzzles or something. It could be fun.
Mhm.
Cool. All right. Cool. Well, not to add to the confusion on Grim Reminders, but our sponsor this week is Grim Reminder themed. Uh, we're sponsored by none other than the Grim Reminder alarm clock. So they say, rise and shine with the Grim Reminder. It's an alarm clock that ensures you wake up one bone chilling beep at a time. Are you tired of the same old mundane wake up calls? Our clock adds a touch of the macabre to your morning routine with haunting melodies and ghostly whispers that guarantee you'll jolt out of bed. Choose from an array of eerie sounds, from phantom footsteps to creaking doors. Plus, the snooze button is replaced by a spectral hand that nudges you awake with a gentle reminder of impending doom. Get the grim reminder because waking up should be an experience, not just a routine.
That's so good. Oh.
Oh, folks, I want to let you all know that Bottom Beaker is filmed right here at twitch.tv/sloppy lab work, typically Tuesday nights, but tonight a Wednesday night at 9:30 Eastern. You can find archives of our past shows and other recordings over at youtube.com. Search for at sloppy lab work over there. For the very best content, 57 times distilled and scraped from the bottom of the beaker. Search for that very phrase in your podcatcher of choice, and we'll be there. Ready to tell you all about the KFC weekend. Find all that and more at sloppylabric.com. Thanks so much to the Behawk, not the Ahawk, but the Behawk for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
good to
Thank you.
see you again, Beehawk.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
And a big shout out to Not Tonight, still in the chat. Oh no, a shame on U.S. time. We're sorry, my friend. And also
Man,
JDG, who played in the main event too. Big shout out to you and my roomie who I got to spoon with over the weekend. Big shout out. And yeah, quick draw. Any final words for the folks getting off of the final audio stop?
thanks for listening. Everyone, I hope you enjoyed KFC if you were there, and stay sloppy.
Stay sloppy indeed. All right, folks. Right on, right on. I'm going to kill the old Zencaster. And very good. Very good. Ooh. Oh, mama. How we feeling? How we feeling, gents? Are we up for a game? Is it
I'm down.
I've got to get my beauty rest. I am I'm actually recovering from some kind of bug obtained during the trip home, and this has been a long one for me, so I'm gonna have to bow out. No hand and brain tonight, unfortunately. Um, so hopefully you guys can enjoy the game.
absolutely? Yeah, I'm up for it if you're up for it, Behawk.
I'm down.
All right,
Cool.
I'll watch the VOD tomorrow,
All right.
uh, but I'm gonna drop here. So thank you guys,
Thank you.
and thanks everyone for tuning in. Big crowd tonight. Thanks for participating.
Yeah,
Talk
right
to you
on.
guys next week.
Night night. Okay, very good. Well, now just the true champions, Hawk.
That's just us.
Just us. All right, I'm adjusting the old layout here. So what do you think? Should we play our? I mean, is it fitting to play the decks that we played in the main event in the open event?
We never got that chance. You want to? That's fine.
Sure, sure. Let's do it. That sounds like a good one. I don't think
Sounds a
I've
little
actually.
sweaty for 10:20 at night after nursing a beer, but that's fine.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, it's 11:20 at night over here.
Ha, okay. I'm great then.
Right on. I'll make the game over on beginner. Beginner.
Of course.
Password sloppy. And I'm playing Vega Razor, Veggie Razor, the Bandit Survivalist, which is a very cool deck. I had tested a fair bit with it. I think you wouldn't know by my last round punt, but there you have it.
And I'm playing sophomore.
Mm-hmm.
Dirk.
Dirk.
Sentinel Raisin.
Sentinel Raisin. Yeah, this could be a spicy game indeed.
Well, hopefully I draw better.
All right. Good luck. Have fun.
Oh God.
Oh,
Oh
interesting.
God. Why would I?
There are definitely things in this hand that I like to see against you.
Yeah. I'm sure you do.
But it's not good enough to keep. Okay. All right. Let's see what we got.
Well, I guess I'll lead off with my favorite turn one play.
That's got to be the not a Fathom Reaver.
No. Awkward.
Awkward. I mean, does my dude over there just have no creatures?
I have nothing.
Nothing. I was all set. I knew what I was gonna do. But now I don't know if I can do it.
Awkward.
Okay. I'm gonna steal one from you. Ooh, I discarded Abyssal Sight and Befuddle with Rogue Operations. That's
Oh my God.
that's like the worst.
Oh, happy day.
Worst ever.
Oh God. Are you ready for this?
No, don't do it.
Is there a Twitch stream going? I just want to show you my hand. Can I show you my hand before going into this?
Need to flex. Okay, let's see it. Yeah.
I'll just play it.
Take the old picture. Mm-hmm. Oh boy, here come the scholars.
Oh God.
So I should have done my other turn. Man, oh man. Man, oh man.
Okay. Well, let's just go in strong.
Okay. But we're at the odds with a damage pip. Okay. Nice. Okay. My guy, you gotta calm down.
My whole hand was just Saurian. I didn't draw a single other Saurian card, but it was beautiful.
All right. That's a lot of duders. I'll play the old Talent Scout. Take your
you got my Fathom
Reader, I guess. Okay. I'm going to give you back your Fathom Reaver, though. Okay, pull up stakes to send back the Talent Scout. Fathom Reaver. Sorry, a Spartosaur.
That's so cool to do pull-up stakes with Talent Scout. That's juicy. That's cool. I like it.
I guess the Legionary Trainer. Ugh. Do I care about Spartosaur right now? I don't know. Maybe I send back one of these scholars. Hmm. Dang, man. Yeah. Okay. All right.
All right.
Play this guy again. Take
And
your legionary
you
trainer.
steal? Man. Brutal.
Yeah. We'll steal here too, and then corner the market. Okay.
Love it. Love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do get more talent scout info. That's true. Chat saying that if I hit the scholars, I get more talent scout info. It's true. It's true. I was pretty sure that I wanted to take the legionary trainer, and I guess I didn't take more scholars because I didn't want to see things that I would rather not take than trainer, if that makes sense. Gross. Gross. So you archived Arm the Plebeians, 2 Arm the Plebeians, and Spartasaur. Okay. Hmm. Yeah. We'll go into Equidon here. We'll draw a card. Scrap Scrounger. Cool. Hieron draws us another card, makes a ready trader. I like that. Should have played Visible Hand first.
Ooh, look at all that potential steal there.
I
Ooh.
know. We're going for it. Just gonna steal
like it.
some stuff.
All right.
Funny.
Guess I'll do it.
More stuff. Let's go. Yeah, reap, reap, reap. Pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah, makes sense. Fights the Legionary Trainer. Oof. Here we go. Wow. Not bad. All right, make the red key.
First.
Always.
Good call.
Well, that's not good.
I like catch and release here.
I would like it. I think we still go unfathomable, though, without catch and release. Gonna send a few things back with Adult Swim.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll play the Gilt Spine School.
All right.
Make some dudes.
At least there's no trainer.
No trainer. Yeah, trainer would have been great there.
Just kill one thing.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, why? Why'd you do this? I guess I'll... 7 cards. All right. Well, yeah, catch and release. That would be bad for me. There's only a 2-hammer turn. Oh boy. I feel like I have more tools.